Evening, dear listener. We have a packed show for you tonight. We're going to be reviewing Newport. Sorry about that. Previewing Donny. We're going to be reviewing Swindon Town Women's clash with Bournemouth with guest stars Annie Colston and Helena Diaz-Butcher joining us with an insider view alongside another special guest. We're going to be updating you on an evening with Paul Caddis. We're going to be giving you the latest regarding our Stephen Darby MND fundraiser. Plus, we have a huge update on the joint venture county ground purchase. And joining me to discuss all this and more will be Ellis. How are we, Ellis?
I am wonderful, Hannahs. How are you?
Yeah, I'm very well, thank you, because we've also got Chris. How are we, Chris?
I'm very good, Mark. Very good. And yourself?
Well, I'm rock and roll, and let me tell you why. Because first, I'm positively salivating regards our very first super special guest for the night. It's a bit like slipping on your favourite pair of Copper Mundials, eating a Big Mac in Brisbane, or sinking a pint of Guinness in Venice. There's something undeniably comforting and highly emotive about a little slice of home comfort. None more so than when our former Swindon Town heroes make that all too rare, unless your name's Ben Gladwin, comeback in not just the colours of the opposition, but our famous red and white. And Swindon Town have a very rich track record in going back when naysayers say never do, especially in the special guests position of choice. And if you don't believe me, just ask Paul Bowden. Well, this January transfer window, Town very much went and done it in this respect. Not just once, but twice. First came Clem's jaw-dropping capture of chief marksman Charlie Austin. Then the cherry on top of the January transfer window cake with the late in the day, undeniably stunning and universally popular capture of a very recent former loan favourite on a deal until the end of the season with an option to buy. He may have returned with a niggle, but, as the kids like to say, soon come. Tonight, he's here to answer all your bewildering mix of questions. The Chiseldon Cancelo, the Wiltshire Carl Walker, the County Ground Cafu, a saucy blend of left and right flank sorcery. Here for your listening pleasure is Joe Tomlinson, ladies and gentlemen. Joe, welcome.
Evening, guys. How are we doing?
All the better for hearing your dulcet tones. I can imagine you sat there right now, Joe, in your First City home shirt, just sort of like rocking back, watching the telly, kissing the badge every couple of minutes. Tell me I'm right.
You're nail on the head there. And thank you for that fantastic introduction. I definitely like the Chiseldon Cancelo shout.
I thought you might like that. Just don't go buggering off to bloody Munich, whatever you do.
I'll try not to.
Well, Joe, welcome back. I said you were the cherry on top of a bonkers January, and I'm conscious that we're not exactly time rich tonight through no fault of neither yours nor mine. So we're going to jump straight in with questions, mate, if that's all right with you.
Yeah, of course.
All right then, mate. Well, look, let's have it. We've got a very, very interesting blend of these. So first up, AB on WhatsApp says, Joe, please tell the story in glorious detail of how your deadline day move unfolded.
Yeah, it was deadline day was crazy, but ended very well. So in the morning, I just went into training at Peterborough. And to be honest with you, I've known for the whole part of the season where I haven't played as much as I would like. So I knew when January came that I was going to try and get out of the club really and go and play some football. And nothing really happened. Well, little bits here and there throughout the window, but then I got injured. So it kind of slowed down a little bit. And basically deadline day morning, I was in training at Peterborough, doing all my rehab stuff, not thinking anything was really going to happen. I didn't hear from my agent really all morning. And then kind of early afternoon, he rang me whilst I was at the training ground still, and there was another club that wanted to do the deal, wanted to do basically the same deal, loan with an option to buy. So that took a couple of hours to try and get sorted. And if I'm honest, I was sat in the secretary's office at Peterborough with this other club's loan agreement right in front of me with the pen in my hand. And basically my agent rang me whilst I'm in there. And he basically said, just step outside a sec. I need to just have a quick word with you. So I went outside and he basically just said, what if Swindon are interested? He knew my answer already. but it was straight away. I was like, well, if we can get a deal done, then let's do it. That's my priority. That's where I want to go. He knew that throughout the whole window. So then we still didn't know if it was going to happen or not. He still had to get back to Swindon and speak to them and see if they wanted to, like, how much of the deal they could do, and if it was a realistic thing. So we had to kind of slow down this other club's deal because they had a medical and were waiting for me basically at their stadium, ready for me to go and sign. But I was waiting to see if Swindon was going to happen, and then thankfully I got the call saying, "Yeah, it's all been agreed, all been done. So make your way to the county ground." So I made my way to the county ground from Peterborough. I drove down late, and it was only my agent, my dad, and my brother that knew about it. My mum didn't even know. So my mum was at home here in Chiseldon, and she didn't even know. My brother came to meet me at the county ground, which was lovely. So me and him were at the county ground, getting it all done, getting all signed off. And then basically when it was all done, we came back here to my mum's house, and we basically turned up on a doorstep and surprised her, which was nice. So it started off not thinking anything was going to happen, and then it was looking like I was going somewhere else. And then, as I say, it ended in the perfect way.
I could just imagine you stood there doing almost like a running man style, ploughing your pen in the back of your agent's back. It's like, bang, there you go. I'm back in the red and white. So how sort of surreal must that have felt then, Joe? Like you said, you're in the morning. It's kind of not on the cards, and then you're literally rocking up in the county ground car park, pitch of black. What must have gone through your mind when you rocked up outside the stadium?
It was just like I don't want to think too much about it. I just want until I've signed the paper. I didn't want to allow myself to get too excited. So I made sure, got that all done, and then it was just relief, really, and just relief and excitement to get going. It was, as I say, it was crazy. But throughout the window, this was my perfect scenario, and it came up, and I'm just so glad to get the deal done.
Joe, I was going to say, there was a lot of rumours about you going to Doncaster during the window. Did that ever come close?
I'll be careful. I can't say too much about different stuff because I don't want different clubs to see it in a different way. But yes, that was very much an option that Have you got me? Sorry, did you lose me there?
That's all right, Joe. We got you back, mate. Sorry, we had a little period of silence.
Sorry, what bit did I get up to?
No worries. You was just saying that Doncaster was very much on the was an option. Should we say politically correctly?
Yes, it was an option, and it was. I actually ended up. It was all around when Grant McCann got sacked at Peterborough, and Darren Ferguson came back in, and Darren Ferguson wanted the whole squad together so we can assess them and see before he kind of let anyone go. So then I went back to Peterborough, and then unfortunately, very frustratingly, I got injured. So that kind of slowed down any move anywhere. But then everything happens for a reason. And it was obviously meant to be to come back here because, as I say, it wasn't look like anything was going to happen until about 4:00 when I got the call on deadline day.
Well, you are very, very welcome back. Just trying to bring Chris back online. I don't know whether that's responsible for our little blackout, but Chris, you've got the next question, buddy. Chris, have we still got you, or have we lost you?
Yeah, it's all right. So I just didn't unmute myself. So, Joe, basically, what convinced you to come back here for a second time? And this is from FIFA FC via Twitter.
That's a very easy question, actually. So obviously everything that happened last year, since I've gone to Peterborough, it's been a tough time. in terms of playing time and enjoying my football. And the time I had at Swindon last year very much allowed me to enjoy my football again, and improve massively as a player on and off the pitch. So the fact that the opportunity came to come back to Swindon came up, it was a no-brainer for me, really, in terms of that as well. Then you bring in the fact that obviously I'm a Swindon boy, I'm a Swindon fan, so that just adds to it massively. And then also you add on to that the appointment of Jody Morris as manager, which is a fantastic appointment. He's a manager with a fantastic CV. He's worked with incredible players at a fantastic level. So the chance to come and work with him was just an opportunity too good to turn down. So it's kind of a mix of all those things.
Ellis, you got the next one?
I do. This is from Casey Paul via DM. What is your favourite cheat meal?
My favourite what? Sorry, say that again.
Your favourite cheat meal?
My favourite what? Sorry?
Your cheat. Do you have a cheat meal, Joe? Do you have a...
Oh, sorry, cheat meal.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's my bad there. Cheat meal. My favourite... Oh, that's a good question, that. I do like a good curry, a nice Indian curry. For those of you that might know it, the Burj in Wanborough is definitely a favourite of mine, and that would be my definite favourite cheat meal.
Very good. All right, so are we talking
what,
creamy curry, or are we talking what are we talking?
Box standard, boring, but I know what I like. Chicken tikka masala, can't go wrong.
Hey, on the money. Right, I've got the next one. It's from Daz Smith, who sent this in via DM on Twitter. He says, being a local lad, Joe, what's it like playing for your home team?
Oh, it's just fun. It's everything that you can ever imagine it would be. Obviously, Swindon's a fantastic football community, and growing up here, it was obviously going to watch the boys. We're going to watch Town at the county ground. It was obviously it was fantastic, and I just wanted to do that. Playing on the pitch as a youngster when I was playing for Rawton Juniors, and we go and have tournaments on the pitch. It's brilliant. So yeah, it's everything you can ever think it would be. And that was then highlighted obviously when playing my debut last year, and when I scored in front of the town end. That was just like every kid's dream in Swindon just coming into one. So
hey, we'll come back to that moment, don't you worry, we'll come back to that. But Chris, you got the next one?
Yeah, Joe, what is the funniest Harry McKirdy story you've got for us? And this comes from Chris via DM.
I probably can't say the funniest ones on here, if I'm going to be honest with you. But what? I don't want to put him in the. I don't want to. It's hard because as you can imagine, there are a lot of funny stories. I don't also want to make it look.
I'll make it a bit easier for you, Joe. What must it be like watching the opposition faces as Harry rocks off the coach in a pair of orange toweling sliders?
Oh, the game that sums it up for me is last year, Carlisle away. From minute one, he was non-stop booed, abused, shouted at from the crowd, non-stop. But I've never seen anyone embrace that as well as what he done in that game. And for anyone that saw that game or was there, he put on a masterclass. Really, I think he ended up with a goal and an assist, and he was just fantastic. So he loved that, and it was quite funny watching opposition players up against him. But he embraced that, and that made him a better player, definitely.
And he got a burger chucked at him as well.
Yeah, yes.
Ellis, you got the next one?
Yeah, this question is in from Nathan via WhatsApp. If you had a movie about your life, who would play you, and what would the movie be called?
That's a good question. Actors wise, I'd like to think that David Beckham would be pretty cool to play me, because then he could do the actual football stuff as well. So that it would be him. And what would it be called? what can I say? Just living the dream, really. It's not really. It's pretty simple, really, with that.
My left and brackets right foot.
Well, both footed. Just that is the title. Yeah, that sounds good.
So agent's check is in the post for you, mate. Don't worry about that. What's right? What we got next? Right, I've got the next one for you. It says, "What would you like the town in to sing when you score on your comeback?" And that's from Darren on Twitter.
Oh, just anything with my name on it. I don't. Anything you can. Anything would be great. Just to hear my name would be brilliant. So obviously, as long as it's in a good way, which I hope it would be. But yes, anything with my name in it would just be brilliant, and I'd be definitely make sure I appreciate that, and I give the fans a clap for that. But that would be brilliant. I don't have any songs about myself ready made. But anything you guys can come up with would be brilliant.
All right, that's something we shall have to remedy, as Uncle Argyle once said. So leave that with us, and we will do our best for you.
Brilliant.
Chris, you got the next one?
All right then, Joe. What is your favourite biscuit? And did Jody Morris use hyperbole stating he can spread balls in on a Ritz without breaking it? That's from Steve Terrell via Twitter.
Oh, wow. My favourite biscuit. Oh, see, I don't really eat too many biscuits. But if I like a cup of tea. And again, I'm pretty boring with what I like. But it would be a rich tea, just dunking in my tea. I know it's not great, but I know what I like. And if I was to have a bit of a cheat thing, I know it would have to be something that I know I love, and a simple rich tea would do me. And not to sound too whatever or big-headed, I think Johnny Morris has got it spot on there. I wouldn't have described it better myself.
Yeah. Oh my God! Right, well, I don't envy you on the next one. Ellis, you've got the next one. Good luck, Joe.
Right, this is from Misty via Twitter. Glenn Hoddle or John Trollope?
Oh. Wow. Actually, I don't want to disrespect one or the other because they're both fantastic. Probably Glenn Hoddle for what he did in the game all round, I would say. But that's no disrespect to John at all.
I tell you what, that's a brave man that says John's fierce on the touchline. He's got absolute verbal volley on him, and obviously he's there every Saturday, Joe. So you've dug your own grave there.
I know. That's why I mean. It's that question. I don't want to disrespect anyone. So it's too tough to say.
Yeah,
really.
that old chestnut. Yeah, right. You are. You might as well just insult the man. Do you know what I mean? That's absolutely fine. Sorry, John. We've done our best for you. We were told he's got good manners, this kid, but clearly not. I've got the next one for you. Best player you've played with and best player you've played against, and that's come from Darren Woodfield via Twitter.
Oh, okay. Best player I've played with would probably be either the Welsh wizard Johnny Williams, that's for sure. Great player, love Johnny. Or Siriki Dembele at Peterborough when I was there. He got moved to Bournemouth, and I think he's now on loan in France. But Siriki Dembele was just fantastic in training. You couldn't tackle him, and a fantastic player. It's a shame he couldn't get more of a chance at Bournemouth because he is a fantastic player. And to play against, that would probably be when I played one of my games in the Championship last year for Peterborough. Probably Ollie Norwood for Sheffield United. Just playing against him, he was just fantastic. In terms of in the same game, wingers wise, probably Jayden Bogle, who was brilliant at right wing back. I learned a lot that night from him. But yeah, definitely Ollie Norwood will be playing against was a fantastic player.
Ollie Norwood it is. Flattered to deceive last night, mind you, against Wrexham.
That is very true. Yes, I do agree with that.
Chris, you're up next, mate.
All right, Joe. Then, so when performances and/or results aren't going well for either yourself or the team, how do you stay motivated and how do you pick yourself up? And that comes from Will Bannister via DM.
So it's never about motivation, because the motivation is always there. And I always say, if you're struggling to get motivated to go and win a game of football, then you're kind of in the wrong line of work, really. So it's not really a question of motivation, because that's always there. It's just about the mindset, and reacting and learning from your mistakes, and just knowing that, like, the tough times, they don't last. Like, times are going to change. If you really believe in what you're doing and you believe in yourself, you know the times are going to change. It's about just getting through it, keep doing the basics right. Probably just about going back to basics, actually, thinking about it, just making sure you do the basics right. Get a couple of wins, couple of good results under your belt, couple of good performances, and that just changes everything. So yeah, that's it. It's never really a question of motivation. It's just about how you react, and how your mindset is to the tough times.
Have you ever been in a dressing room? You don't have to mention names, Joe, but have you ever been in a dressing room where you're sort of like, God, someone's just intolerably miserable? So like you said, it's not motivation, but they're just like absolute mood drains where you just want to put one on them.
Yes, I can confirm that in quite a few players.
So it's a weird one, isn't it? Like how that kind of character is motivated. Like it's a very selfish sort of reflex, isn't it? But by the same token, they've made it to, you know, a kind of an elite level of football with that attitude.
Yes,
it's bonkers.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
Right, we're Ellis. You've got the next one. I can't begin to imagine who wrote this one.
I know. This is from a suspicious man called Mark from Kent. So, Joe, apart from the personal changes, how has the STFC environment changed since 2022?
Oh, it was that's a good question. That it was quite funny. I was sat with my brother when I was getting ready to sign, and we sat down and we were just going through the team. And really, obviously, a few of the young boys that are still there, kind of Ricky Aguiar, your Harry Parsons, your George Calmedo, Harrison Minturns are still there. But in terms of kind of the full first team squad, it was only really kind of Ellis, Yanzalo, and Johnny Williams that were the same. So it was really quite weird, considering it's only been kind of 6 to 8 months since I'd been there. But obviously, Glads had gone, and Reedy had gone in this window, and then quite a lot of the boys had gone in the summer. So it was really weird, because I'd come back to a place that I was familiar with the surroundings, familiar with obviously all the background staff apart from the gaffer, but I didn't really know any of the players. So it was just the whole team was just a bit different. But in terms of everything else, I say it's not been too long since I've been away, so everything else was very similar. It was kind of a similar situation as to when I joined last year, as to where we are in the table, and kind of the belief that we've got to go and get promoted this year is very similar in that sense. But it's just be player wise, that was the main difference.
Well, we've got a reflective question for you. I've got the next one for you, Joe. And it says this. Walsall away 2022. Describe what it was like for you, Tyrese and Kane Kessler-Hayden, sat in the stands with what felt like half of Wiltshire. Do you have any standout memories? And that's from Sarah on WhatsApp.
Yes, well, that was amazing, but difficult all in one in that one, because it was obviously fantastic. Being away at Walsall, I think she was on about the last game of the season. That one, where it was confirmed we're going to the playoffs. Yep. So that one was amazing, being there with the boys, seeing the fans, seeing everything. Obviously, more away fans than there was home fans, I think. By the looks of it, there was. So it was a fantastic game, obviously fantastic result. But obviously, at the same time, being injured and not being able to be involved with it was extremely hard, because I just wanted to go out there and just enjoy it and be with the boys on the pitch, which was a shame. But at the same time, it was just amazing for the boys, and I was so pleased for them, and I was so pleased for the fans as well.
Chris, you got the next one?
Ooh, this is an interesting one. Joe, I've locked my nan in a cage. Reassure her that we are going up, because that's the only way I'm going to let her out.
Wow. Well, Nan, you got like nothing. Just we're going up. It's going to happen. What can I say? It's going to happen. It's written in the stars at Wembley, Swindon, us to go up. Like, I can just see it. That's why I've come back, for that reason. We're going up. It's happening. And I can't wait for the celebration at the end.
Nan is suddenly mopping a brow. She's feeling that life. Ellis, you've got the next one, and I know the answer's definitely not going to be me.
Yeah, well, this is we're slightly digressing off the last subject, but who's the hairiest teammate?
The hairiest?
Yeah.
Ooh. Wow, the hairiest. That's an
I
interesting
never
one.
thought I'd hear you say that, Joe.
No, say in the changing room, we make sure that we're not too hairy. That's included in the fines, actually, that we're not too hairy. So
I think I know. I think you've probably got an idea. This question might have come from inside.
Yeah. The hairiest. Oh, I couldn't answer that. I haven't been around the boys long enough to get a good look yet.
Yeah. Well, I've got the next one, Joe, and it says, which teammate is most likely to succeed in life and why?
To succeed in life? Oh, well, are they talking about outside of football or including, is that in football as a footballer?
I think that's open to your interpretation, buddy, to be frank.
To succeed in life? Well, I think everyone's got the potential to succeed in life. Who do I think has got the most potential to? Oof.
And why is the answer Harry Minturn?
So they're all great lads, all fantastic lads. No one really sticks out to me as someone that's above the rest in terms of having the potential to do something amazing. I mean, it probably would have been Ben Gladwin to go on and be a fantastic manager in football. But as I say, other than that, no one really sticks out to me.
That'll do. Well, I reckon we could probably take Gladwin, to be honest. Just out.
Yeah.
He inevitably. I think that's an interesting one, Joe. We won't sort of put you in any awkward position. But I think most of the chat around his departure has been about when will we see him back in the manager's seat. So it seems I listened to your comments with quite some interest. Chris, you've got the next one.
Joe, most hated politician.
Oh, politics is not for me. Stay away from that. I play football. I try not to get involved with that, so I'm not going to shoot myself in the foot here. Yeah. And I'm going to pass on that one. That's my pass.
What's Ellis? You've got the next one.
Yeah. Star Wars or Harry Potter?
Star Wars.
Very good.
Star Wars, definitely. Harry Potter's never really been my thing. It's not done it for me, Harry Potter. I'm going to be honest. Probably going to annoy some people listening, and I apologise for that. But it's never really been my thing. So definitely Star Wars.
Most revolting thing ever said or done to you on a pitch? Brackets, names are optional.
Oh. I won't say the name of the player and the team. But probably getting injured by a certain player and the way he was with me when I was playing, just little things in my ear, little elbows in the face, stuff like that. And he actually ended up injuring me in the game. So, yeah, just not a player that, as you can imagine, just one of them ones that's constantly in your ear, constantly elbowing you every time you get in the ball, just studs down your heels, just horrible stuff like that, all in one. And then he actually ended up injuring me, which was not nice. So, yeah, I won't say the player and the club, but I haven't forgot it.
Did you get an apology, Joe, like after the...
No.
Oh, wow.
No.
Okay. Ooh.
I won't forget it. That's what I was really... So, I mean, I never forget that. So it's with me, and that's fine because I can then use that in a good way for the next time.
Yeah, good for you, mate. What a great attitude to have. Chris, you've got a bunch of questions. You're going to enjoy this bit, Joe.
Yeah. So Joe, we've got a quick fire round now here.
Okay.
And you talk a good game, but just how well do you know Swindon?
Oh no. Okay, go on then.
So, what is the name of the flumes at the Oasis?
Dome Busters.
Oh, good dancer. There is a curious chap that hangs around the car park and talks loudly to all the players. Name him in full.
Oh, couldn't tell you.
Oh my goodness, Joe! But you've got to have got pinned against the wall by this guy at least once. Are you?
Wait, sorry. Say that again. Repeat the question.
There is a curious chap that hangs. There is a curious chap that hangs around the car park and talks loudly at all players.
Oh,
Name him in
sorry.
full.
Yeah, I didn't hear the question properly. I know exactly who you're on about. I don't. Unfortunately, I feel so bad not being able to remember his name, but I know exactly who you're on about. I do know because all the boys do know him. Yes, and I do remember him from every home game last year.
Joe, the answer is of course Football Phil. So that's so far you're 1-1.
Football Phil.
What's the next one, Chris?
Yeah. What's the name of the first pub you pass when coming off the M4 Junction 15 into town?
Coming off Junction 15?
Yeah.
The Plough.
No.
Coming up to Chiselden? Off Junction 15 or going which way off Junction 15? Going up the hill?
Going into Swindon, coming off at M4,
Junction 15. Yeah. So not going up to Chiselden, up the hill, which is where I live.
Going down past the hospital.
Okay, so going A419.
Down to the roundabout that will take you to Dorking or take you the other way.
Oh, is it the Sun Inn?
Oh, he's got out. It's 2-1, Joe. He's doing ever so well. Yeah. This one,
right. All right. Oh, right. Next one, Joe. What's the name of the Swindon Railway Museum?
The one at the outlet centre, yeah. The Steam Museum.
He's doing well here. Let's see how you do on this
Double
one. Double
jeopardy with this one, Joe.
Okay, hit me.
What's the name of the Wetherspoons in Fleet Street, and how much is their large breakfast?
Oh, the one in the Wetherspoons in Fleet Street, and how much is the breakfast? Okay, First of all, I can't say I've ever got a breakfast from there. So
we're listening for keys tapping away, Joe. By the way, we'll have no cheating.
The Savoy?
Yes, we've got him. No, I'm afraid not.
No,
that's the one at the other end.
Do you want to have a punt? How much you get a large breakfast for?
£4.
Oh, not being funny. So it's 3-2 now, Joe. You're only just ahead. It's of course the.
Is it Sir Dan?
No, you can't come up. No, you've already taken your first answer. I'm afraid. It is indeed the Sir Daniel Arms, and it's a £5.90 tariff for your large breakfast, Joe. So 3.
All right, I won't forget that.
Double jeopardy. You've blown it. So you're 3-2 down. But
okay,
and also you've got no excuses to get this one wrong.
Okay.
What's the name of the jewellers adorning our world famous Rolex Stadium clock?
The jewellers.
There's a jeweller's name on our Rolex clock that's in the stadium.
Oh, of course, on Wood Street. Yeah.
Oh, he's got it.
Oh, yes.
You've done so.
Of course, there's one Wood Street and one in Marlborough. Yes.
Don't let anybody tell you, ladies and gentlemen, Joe Tomlinson is not a Swindon Town fan. That's a fine.
Of course, yeah. Richard Deacon at Deacon's. Yes.
Oh, no, look, he's even getting a first name.
Yeah, I know. As soon as I got it, see, I do know. I see. I'm born and raised.
Chris, you've got the next one as well.
Joe, so do you still keep an eye on Eastleigh's results? Because we really enjoyed you being down there with us. That's from Steve Barney via Twitter.
Oh, brilliant. Thank you for that message. Yes, definitely. All my previous teams I like to keep track on. And Eastleigh they've had a good run of results recently, actually. But yes, most definitely I do. I really enjoyed my time there. And as I say, it was at that season that I managed to get a move to Peterborough. So yeah, I really enjoyed it there. And yes, to answer, yes, I do follow them definitely. In fact, I follow all my clubs. And in fact, last night I went to watch Hungerford Town because I used to play for them. So I went last night to go and watch them as well because I do like to follow the teams I used to play for.
Spud Herring still speaks glowingly of you, Joe.
Fantastic guy, and he helped me. I can't tell you how much he helped me in my career. I dropped out of Brighton. I was a pro at Brighton and then got released from there. Had nowhere to go. Spud, he took me in at Hungerford, gave me a contract, made me captain after a few months there as well. And he just helped me get my confidence back and improve massively as a player. And from there, obviously, I went to Eastleigh and then to Peterborough from there.
Yeah, and your performance at Eastleigh, Joe, it's fair to say your stats were absolutely phenomenal. That's where you really did kind of like rise to prominence as well, wasn't it? You know, like number of assists, the number of goals from a fullback position was pretty mouthwatering.
Yes, and I just need runner games. And I'll be that was a couple of years ago, and I've improved massively since then. So with a good run of games, that will improve for sure as well, and those stats will only get better.
Well, we'll hold you to that. Ellis, you've got the next one.
Yeah. There seems to be a lot of shower questions involved in this, but which town player is the longest in the shower?
Oh, the longest in the shower. I haven't been around the boys long enough for someone to stick out.
What about last season then?
Last season, Johnny Williams. I'm in there with him quite a bit. So I'm gonna have to say Johnny.
Good effort, Johnny. Street cred has just gone up tenfold.
Well, it takes a long time to wash that beard. To be fair,
it does.
There's nothing worse than bubbles in your beard. Nothing worse than your beard. Got to rinse it properly. Ellis, I believe you've also got the next one.
Yeah, I do. This is from Kelly via Twitter. Do you have any pre-match superstitions, and who do you support?
So pre-match superstitions, I don't, but that's by choice because growing up, obviously certain players who I play with had certain superstitions, but I never wanted to get them. I never wanted them to start because I didn't want to have to rely on that before a game, to have to think, unless I do this, I'm going to play well. I didn't want to have to keep worrying if I've done it yet or not. So I make sure I don't have any superstitions for the fact that then I can just relax before a game and then go and enjoy it and go and play well without worrying if I've done my superstition or not done it, or being 20 minutes into the game and not done it and then being like, oh no, I'm going to play bad. So for that reason, I choose not to. And then, sorry, what was the second bit again?
Who do you support?
Who do I support? Well, obviously, born and raised Swindon, so of course I always follow the town. But the other club I do follow with my heart is Man United for sure. And I'm proud. It's the time right now. It's been the first time in a few years that I can proudly say that as well. Right now.
Well, I don't know if you saw, Joe, but it's 2-1
still.
It's 2-1 though. Rashford scored.
2-1 to United.
No, 2-1 to Leeds.
Okay, well. Apart from tonight, it's been a good run.
Oh wait, no, it's 2-2.
Brilliant. Get in there.
We like to pride ourselves in breaking news, and well,
brilliant. Thank you for that.
So,
no problem
Joe,
whatsoever.
I've got your final question of the night, and it's been a roller coaster of emotions, Joe, talking to you tonight. And it is simply this, Joe: is there anything you would like to say to the fans?
Just, I can't wait to see you again. Please don't. I'm just as frustrated and annoyed as you, I'm sure you are, that I'm not playing just yet. However, it won't be too long at all. I'll be there on Saturday to see you all. Unfortunately, I won't be involved again, but I'll be seeing you all, and for sure it will be the only home game that I'm going to miss. So that was when I had a look at the fixtures. That was nice to see that I'll be back soon. It won't be long. So please just don't get too annoyed because I'm just as frustrated as you are. Being here, being at the training ground with all the boys, it's hard to not just go and get involved and to see the boys there and not be playing. But I'm working hard to get back fit. And then I'm looking forward to seeing you again. And hopefully we can have a really good time between now and the end of the season. And together we can go and celebrate our promotion.
Well, Joe, you don't need me to tell you. You are very, very welcome back. And you know damn well there's a little seat waiting for you in the town end as well. It's not like you've done it before.
Brilliant.
So you're going to have to make good use of your time on the touchline. And I'm sure you will get a very, very warm welcome. Joe, what an absolute treat. Thank you so much, mate, especially on a school night. Coming and giving us best part of 40 minutes of your time. Sorry for the little blackout at the start. I hope it didn't put you off your stride. But
no, not at all.
You've been a terrific sport. And we very much hope you're not going to be a stranger and that we can get you back in the lounge again at some point.
Oh, definitely not. Anytime you need me, just let me know. I'll be happy to come on. It's been great. Thank you for having me on, and thank you for everyone that's listening. Thank you for all your support last year and for the upcoming support for the rest of the season. So looking forward to seeing you all soon. Thank you very much.
Disappear off, Joe. Get yourself the chicken tikka masala and dip your
Thank you.
And best of luck with your rehab. We hope to see you back before March.
Cheers, Hannah. Thank you. I can confirm it will be before March, which will be nice. So it'll be this month. This month I'll be back.
That's the spirit. Cheers, Joe. Take good care.
Thank you. Cheers, Hannah. Thank you. Bye.
Cheers, Joe.
Oh, we do love a returning hero, Chris. We do love a returning hero, Ellis, do we not?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, sometimes it can be a bit dodgy, but there's some romance in people coming back and unfinished business.
Yeah,
he might be the nicest man in football.
he's certainly he's a gregarious personality. Is Joe Tomlinson, and I can only imagine he's wonderful around the supporters. I bet he's just like Johnny Williams. I bet he's a fantastic personality to have amongst the players as well. He's got a really, for a young lad, he's got a really, really mature head on his shoulders. And as I say, his Eastleigh stats, when you consider you're only talking one division away from us, and he absolutely tore it up at Eastleigh. Obviously, he made a brilliant start, didn't he, when he came to the county ground first time of asking. And it was, I'm led to believe that we only just missed out on him when he went to Peterborough as well, given he was so local. But it was, I think, if you'd asked most Town fans on deadline day who their preferred signing would have been, or sort of who was right at the top of their list, I guarantee you, if he wasn't top of their list, he would be in their top three. And testament to that, of course, our deadline day show. Joe said to me that he listened back to it, and he just said he had the biggest smile on his face. We heard us all pressing the party button pretty much bang on 11 o'clock when it was announced. Oh, good fun, wasn't it? Good fun. Well, I'll tell you what else is good fun.
I was going to say, I've made no mistake pretty much all season. I just wanted him to come back. I said, a genuinely two-footed player, so he can be very effective left back or right back. And, I just can't wait for him to come back.
He's still got so much to prove, of course, and he's genuinely buzzing. He's a Town fan. Like, I'm not being funny, but I think he's given us enough quality answers. Apart from getting sedans and the cost of a breakfast wrong, I think we'll give him that. But he knows his onions as well. He's clearly SM1 through and through. And
I think to be fair though, Hannes, most people don't want to go in Wetherspoons anyway.
Well, there are other pubs are available, Chris. Other pub brands are available. I'll tell you three other individuals who are very much Swindon Town through and through. And delighted, dear listeners, to introduce you to the captain of Swindon Town Women's Football Club, Alice Bowden. Good evening, Alice. How are you?
Good evening. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, you're very, very welcome. We threw the gauntlet down to Lanes and Annie. We said, go get them, Tiger. And they've absolutely aced it, and they've delivered us the skipper. Well, that's a great effort. Annie, good evening. How are you?
Hello, I'm very well, thank you.
Yeah, very well, thank you. Lovely to have you back on. Again, the rich vein of scoring continues. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And
200 now, isn't it, this season?
Pardon?
200 goals now this season.
I wish.
It is becoming Messi-esque in the stats department, and of course we've got Arch Supply Line Supreme, Helena Diaz-Butcher. Lanes, good evening. How are you?
Good evening. I'm good. How are you?
Yes, listen to you, Lanes. I love that word, gregarious. Gregarious as always, and how delightfully charming to hear your wonderful voice. So, what was the story of the weekend, ladies? So obviously away at Bournemouth, we've got on paper certainly a credible draw. Were you frustrated? Were you happy? How did it sit with you?
I think going into it, the last couple of sort of performances we've had, we all clubbed together and we all knew that we needed to put in a good performance. And I think looking back now, I was proud of the girls. They literally put in a shift, and I do think we came away a little bit unlucky from the results. Annie had a few good chances, so did some of the other girls. But honestly, the performance that we gave was amazing. We had like a few girls coming into different positions who played out of their skin, so I couldn't have been happier.
So, Alice, was there much? I appreciate over recent weeks there's been a little bit of tactical jiggery pokery. Was there many changes from the weekend, or did you revert back to a fairly sort of standard formation?
We've sort of reverted back to the sort of standard formation. I think the performances we've been given have been good, but I think we all knew that we could have given. We all knew that in some of the games maybe we could have given a little bit more, or we could could have pushed on a little bit. And I think that's what we did in Bournemouth. We literally all just clubbed together and played our hearts out. And I think that's what sort of did us in good stead. And to be fair, Bournemouth couldn't really get anywhere too near us. They didn't really have many shots, but they obviously managed to get a goal. But we managed to get one back.
So, speaking of getting goals, Annie, we said you're back on the goal trail again. Talk us through your goal.
Oh, wow. Don't do it. Just don't.
Lanes, do you want to talk about this?
Go on, Lanes. Talk to me about your assist, and then I'll say about the goal.
I don't have anything to say about it.
Hannah's, if you've not seen the goal,
come on, talk us through it. That's a reason why I asked the question.
I think Alice wants to put a poll on Twitter, actually.
Oh, more than welcome.
I think there was a questionable handball, maybe a little bit.
Yeah, you basically picked the ball up, stuffed it up your bumper, and ran it to the goal line and presented it to Annie. Come on, talk us through it.
Sort of just smashed.
I think it came to Lanes, sort of maybe hit her elbow. I think the ref thought it hit her face.
I thought it hit her face.
Yeah, I think she was pretty sure he was going to blow a whistle, so she just swung her leg at the ball. And he didn't blow his whistle, and it literally came right through to me. So I thought, oh, sweet, I'll just shoot. And then I've scored.
I meant it.
You did not mean it one bit. And then Lanes didn't even celebrate with me until she realised that the ref gave the goal because she thought he was still going to blow for handball.
And then facial expressions changed completely, and it was party time. So, how many assists is that now for you for the season?
Oh, I don't know.
Oh, you've got to be on top of these stats, Lanes. You've got to be on top.
Of course she is.
Oh, Annie, what is it?
I don't know. I'm just
Annie,
looking now.
How many goals have you got? Maybe like 10.
Wow, that is decent stats. And Annie, in terms of obviously you're going to be right up there on the top scorers list. I have been searching everywhere for one and can't find one. Are you top or are you right up there? You must be.
I'm not top in terms of all the teams, but I think I'm quite close to the top. Yeah.
And how many goals have you got for the season now, Annie?
In the league, 11 so far.
That's unbelievable. Unbelievable return. So, okay, well, obviously a season that's been heavily disrupted by atrocious weather. Tell us what's the next few weeks got in store for you guys? I know you've been training your socks off on the weatherproof pitch, so it's not like you've had any kind of like hold ups. What's the next couple of weeks got in store for you all?
So Sunday we've got Moneyfield, which is sort of like an unknown to us. They've sort of come into our league this season, so that's going to be a little bit of a game to sort of see how they are and what they're going to bring to the league. But from the league table, they're doing quite well, so it should be a good match.
Yeah, for those that don't know, Moneyfields they're from down Portsmouth way, aren't they? So it's a bit of a journey for them. What's are they? I mean, I'm guessing. I'm going to guess that they're not going to be particularly well supported. Or is there anything about Moneyfield, like you said, a bit of an unknown? Is there anything about them that I don't know? Is there anything you're particularly watching out for?
Not so much watching out for. I think I've played against some of the players that they've got before, so they've got a few decent players that we're going to have to sort of watch out for. But I quite like playing against an unknown team because they probably don't know too much about us and vice versa. So hopefully our sort of main people can get a few goals.
And we were hoping we might see your goalkeeper skip tonight in Emily, but Emily's made a brilliant comeback from a knee injury that she suffered against Plymouth at the County Ground, hasn't she? It's brilliant to see her back in goal.
Oh, it is. I love having Emily back there. She she is a character. To be fair, I reckon by the end of the season we'll be able to get her on there, but small steps.
Oh,
We've just got her out of speaking and being one of us. So we'll get her on by the end of the year. I'll
oh,
bully her into it.
she's a wonderful, wonderful personality. It was brilliant. So the Plymouth game, obviously, she made her show debut, and it was literally. See, it's fair to say she probably sits in the Clem Morfuni school of I'm uncomfortable on the mic. Is probably fair to say, but she's got absolutely no reason to be, and I would say that's probably more to do with age than anything else. Or possibly.
Yeah, when you're old like me, just chat to anyone.
No, that's just responsibility, Alice. You carry it so well. Alice, is there? I mean, I know there's a few bits and bobs happening that you could possibly share. That Annie was talking to me about later. There's potentially going to be there's potentially more games at the county ground and a few other developments at the club. Is there anything that you wanted to share while the floor is yours?
Not really. Obviously, we're just enjoying the support, and hopefully we can get maybe 1 or 2 more games at the county ground before the end of the season, and at Foundation Park as well, which Foundation Park's also a good sort of atmospheric place to play because it's quite small, so the amount of people that you can have, it feels like rather than 200 people there, it feels like there's about 10 times that. So that's another really good one that people should try and get down to support.
Right in the shadow, of course, of the county ground. So yeah, it's on the estate, so to speak, and it is interesting because we were having conversations with Tom Hartley right at the start of the season. We were saying how important it is for the women's team to have their football played, if not in the county ground, certainly in Swindon, at the heart of Swindon. And I would echo that. It's a lovely facility, isn't it, Alice? Foundation Park. Is it? Do you guys find it's I mean, that people will always talk about the fact that, playing on a plastic pitch versus playing on the grass. Has that had any impact on you guys in terms of, do you have any concerns about picking up injuries? Do you have any wear and tear concerns? Anything along those lines? I mean, obviously it's state of the art, isn't it? So
yeah, it's lovely. Not really, because we do a lot of work on a Tuesday and Thursday in the gym. So sort of doing injury prevention sort of things, making our ankles, knees and things stronger. So probably injuries we would pick up doing those sorts of things. We don't necessarily always pick up because we're strengthening those muscles and things like that. But honestly, it's just lovely to play on. I wish we could play on it every Sunday.
Yeah, well,
I so prefer 3G to grass.
I don't, because I love a slide and I can't
your
slide
touch is
while I do
rubbish.
slide, but my legs don't help me. My legs don't enjoy it.
yeah, Alice, you like a big tackle, didn't you?
Oh,
So
I
I was
love a
going to
big tackle, yeah.
wholly unsurprised that you prefer the grass to the Astro. But Annie, your preference would be playing on the 3G.
Yeah, for
Of course it
sure.
is. Twinkle toes don't want to get dirty.
No, I'll happily play on grass, but 3G, I don't know. It's so much better for me.
I know. Speaking of Twinkle Toes, she's very quiet, isn't she, tonight, Lanes? She's very quiet. She's just given up the floor to everybody else. What about you, Lanes? Where do you sit? Do you prefer the 3G to the grass?
I think she's sitting at Nando's now. You own there.
I quite like the 3G, but when your touch is as bad as mine is, it's kind of more obvious on the 3G. You can't blame it on the 3G. You can blame it on the grass sometimes. So, I don't know. I don't mind.
That is the worst case of fishing for a compliment, Lanes.
Oh, no.
When you're
I have told her she needs to work on her first touch.
No, it's Annie. Annie always tells me I have to work on my first touch.
I've given her a complex.
Oh, you've got in her head. You're living in her head rent free.
Rent free.
So listen, obviously we said about Moneyfields. So please remind the listeners. So Moneyfields at the weekend. What are the big stats, kickoff times, etc. Fire away. Let's say the floor is yours.
The next couple of games we've got are all away. So Moneyfields is away. 19th of Feb we've got Portishead Town away. So we've got a couple of away games coming up. So we've had a good stead of home games, and now it's away games coming. So which is sort of nice. We've got the big bus now, which is lovely to travel in, thanks to the men's team. So we can arrive looking good.
So you've kind of taken the words right out of my mouth. Obviously, you're going to be travelling down to. So they're going to be. I believe you're going to be playing at Waterlooville Stadium. So it's going to be a nice backdrop for you. So certainly anyone that wants a double dose of their football this weekend, you've got the county ground on Saturday with the men's team, but then you've got Havant at Waterlooville on Sunday. What time's kickoff, Alice?
2:00. Always 2:00 on a Sunday.
2:00 kickoff on a Sunday. And the coach, and you guys are going to be all travelling down there on a coach. Now, I'm not being funny. I mean, tell me, spend a little bit of time just telling me about that, because one of the things that led to us sponsoring Annie and Lanes right at the start of the season was when we ended up having a conversation about the fact that you guys were all independently driving to matches. That obviously all had associated costs. A lot of those costs you guys are kind of you try and pick up yourselves by finding your own sponsors and whatnot. A lot's changed, Alice, hasn't it, since the start of the season? And obviously, you guys as a unit now, as a team, being able to travel 2 games together in a salubrious Barnes coach, that must be a big step forward in terms of team morale.
Yeah, definitely. Even just pressing on. Obviously, I've been here for quite a few seasons, so we've had minibuses before and stuff like that. But being able to travel all together in a big space, so everyone's got their own space, you can wander around, you can speak to different groups of people, have analysis at the back of the bus, and like little things like that just really helps us prepare for a match day, as well as teaching Annie how to play double for the first time in lanes. It's great. We've got all the fun games on board.
All right, I was going to say, have you got a card school?
We do. We started on Sunday.
So I can just imagine you sharking them, Alice, just cleaning out their bank accounts. That's probably why Lanes is so quiet. She's probably skint now. She won't be able to have a weekend out.
She's still crying, I think.
Yeah, she's still getting over it.
Well, look, I mean, is there anything else, ladies, you'd like to share? Like I say, the floor continues to be yours. Is there anything else you'd like to share? It's always a delight having you on, and a nice surprise to have the skipper with us as well tonight. So thanks to the 3 of you for coming on. But as we just said to Joe, is there anything you'd like to say to the supporters? You've got quite an audience you're listening to tonight, and there'll be an even bigger one listening to the recorded show thereafter. So fire away if there's anything you want to say.
No, I think I'd speak on behalf of the girls. The support we've got from you guys this season's been incredible, especially with the podcast and things like that, asking our opinions, taking interest in us. Honestly, it's been amazing. And the last couple of seasons, we haven't really had that. So just see the growth in you as the men's fans wanting to become our fans and get to know us as people is amazing. And honestly, big respect to you guys. Thank you so much.
I've just received a WhatsApp in relation to you, good ladies, saying if there is a trick that you are missing, we would like to see you more on match days when the men are playing. Whether that's, now I don't know, it doesn't say whether that means coming out on the pitch and waving and saying hello, but I mean, certainly over the course of, certainly at the end of last season, start of this, we've had Paul Caddis in the Town End, we've had Tom Broadbent in the Town End. Are we going to have Swindon Town Women's Football Club in the Town End with us?
Do you know what? Why not? As long as it's like there's a few beers, we're not going to tell KP or Lally or anything like that. Of course we'll be there.
I mean, water. I'll be there for sure.
Too late. He's listening.
I'm waiting for a WhatsApp.
Right, Keelan. I'll tell you what we'll do then, Keelan. We will make it so. Certainly within the next 3 to 4 weeks, dear WhatsApper, we will have as many of the Women's Football Club with us in the Town End as we possibly can. You can take that as read, Alice. The Sir Tom Broadbent Lounge will be your great enabler. So we'll take that conversation offline, Alice.
Yeah, we'll delete that out of the pre-recorded.
Yeah, maybe you're right. So yes, Alice, I'll be in touch, but we'll make that happen. How about that?
Thank you so much.
No, you're very welcome. Well, look, Alice, Lanes, Annie, thank you ever so much for joining us. You are free to leave. Good luck. 2 p.m. on Sunday, as say away to Moneyfields. The women going to be playing at Havant and Waterlooville's stadium against Moneyfields, recently promoted Moneyfields Football Club, where they'll be hoping to follow up their 1-1 away draw to Bournemouth with another successful raid down in Hampshire. Thanks ever so much for joining us, ladies. We've got now the dubious pleasure of having a quick dip into a debacle in Wales, unfortunately. So it didn't quite go to plan, Chris Ellis, did it really? Newport away on Saturday. God almighty, like I despair, really. I despair. We were certainly 10, 15 minutes into the game. I was rubbing my hands with glee. Rashawn Hepburn-Murphy had their fullbacks on toast. We were pegging them back. It looked like the result was only going to go one way. And then it all seemed to change with the flash of a red card, didn't it?
Exactly. Well, it was very well. It was almost derby like those first 10 minutes, just the way it was. But it was such a silly moment. But I mean, we were watching it at the time, and as soon as obviously the referee took his time, but as soon as it happened as well, we were always talking between ourselves, saying he's off. There was no way he wasn't going off for that, despite the fact that Cameron Nortman went down like he'd been shot in the face when he wasn't even pushed anywhere near his face.
Yeah, it's one of those red cards, isn't it? Where it's like, if that happens to, if one of your teammates, if one of your team goes down, you kind of go, well, not being funny, it's, within the rules of the game, like, you raise your hands, the opposition's going to get sent off, and kind of like the emphasis is on you to try and help your team win a game. And, listen, you're going to be, if one of your players does that and there's a flash of red, you're absolutely loving it, aren't you? But at the same time, it's excruciating when it goes the other way. And I mean, obviously, it was a real shame after the game. RHM was very quick to, tweet the pictures of his injuries. He had a nasty looking gash, which we believe to be on his shin. And I think the general vibe was that people could quite understand how that kind of violent exchange ended up with just the one red card. I don't think there was any complaints from Rashawn Hepburn-Murphy that the red card was shown, but I think it was more a case that it just got shown in one direction.
I think I think watching it, as I don't have a complaint about the red card, because if you raise your hands and push someone like that, then you give the referee a decision to make. I'm not sure I saw anything from the Newport side that was really worth that, but we didn't really, from our angle, see what had caused the injury to Rashawn, and it was just all a bit petulant, really, and unfortunate. But from playing 80 minutes with 10 men, it's tough.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I'm kind of with you there. I mean, watching the game, I could only assume, because it was there was an aerial challenge, wasn't there? And then both the guys seemed to come together. There was a bit of an ugly sort of tangle where a player seemed to sort of take a bit of air. And then next thing you know, Rashawn seems to turn and push. And then the guy goes down like a sack of spuds.
Yeah, but I think the guy he pushed actually wasn't the guy that he tangled with. I think it was just someone else who came into his face.
Yeah, it was a very, very strange state of affairs. Well, obviously the game was Gabz. Gabz has joined us. How are you, Gabz? Good evening, mate.
Evening. How are we all?
Yeah, well, we've had a brilliant start to the show. Joe Tomlinson was absolutely fantastic. And then we've just had Ellis, Bowden, Annie Colston and Lane's Diaz-Butcher have just joined us. And for another sort of like 20 odd minutes of Swindon Town Women's good quality mirth. And then we got to talk about it now. So like, obviously we're just talking about the sending off, and we're saying clearly if it happens, if the circumstances are reversed, we're all like whooping and cheering, and we've got ourselves an advantage. I don't think anybody really likes to see a sending off in those circumstances, but nonetheless, if it happens, your team going to get 3 points, we quickly forget it and we move along. But leaves a bit of taste. But yeah, how did you see the sending off, Gabz? Like, what? Because the boy took an awful lot of flack. There was a big turnout. I think a lot of disappointed people after the game. Mate?
At first, I wasn't too sure which part he pushed, because originally when it happened, I thought, it's in the chest. Okay, he's just going to get a yellow here, and we'll go on. And then obviously the red came out. I was like, oh, here we go. So I went to Matt's Twitter to see the highlights. And to be honest, I was a bit annoyed at the time. I haven't watched the replay again. He's clearly in the face, isn't it? I mean, I've got no complaints there. But no, to be honest, it was just a sense of, once that happened, here we go again at Newport. You know what you're going to get from there. Them just pretty much pumping it forward, men against boys. And to be honest, it was exactly that. I wasn't impressed with them at all. But it was just one of those, really. I think if we didn't switch off on the first, probably could have got something from the game. The second goal, I've got no complaints, to be honest. We're trying to push for the equaliser 10 men, and they've caught us on the break. And to be honest, our goal was quite good. I'd be lying if I said I was still there at that point. I didn't go off of the ump. But to be honest, I think we've just got to write off, really. The game was done after about 15 minutes.
I mean, yeah, it was an interesting one. As has been the case for this whole season, like we dominated possession. Town had 57% of possession to Newport's 43%. But Newport dominated with shots, somewhat unsurprisingly, given that they're playing against 10 men. Newport racked up 16 shots to our 6. 7 of those 16 were on target, 2 of which obviously they scored from, compared to our 2 on target. Newport forced 6 corners. We only forced the 2. Interestingly enough, Newport committed 16 fouls, and we've only committed the 9 and have ended up with 9 men. I think... I mean, it's a frustrating one because it's very easy to sort of say, well, hang on, Rashawn Hepburn-Murphy's 24-year-old. He should probably know better, but he's had a very, very frustrating season, I would imagine, for him. You know, stop-start with injuries. He's got himself back into the team. You know, he's just sort of like working his way back to sort of fitness where he's starting matches. He's got this really like burgeoning partnership that seems to be developing with Charlie Austin. And then someone's clearly gone through him and inflicted that level of injury on him. So clearly there was something going through his mind. It was quite, I mean, a lad that's got the kind of the level of what's the word I'm looking for? He's got the pedigree. It's kind of an unusual thing. I wouldn't have expected Rashawn Hepburn-Murphy to have raised his hands like that. But nonetheless, obviously he did. He's picked up the red card. So now we're going to be missing him for a period of time. And I mean,
I would say it's also frustrating. The guy that had a serious head injury at that time scored the bloody first goal as well, didn't he?
Yeah, as is always the way, though, isn't it? As is always the way. But I mean, Ellis, Rashawn's going to be missed, isn't he? Because I mean, you and I, obviously, we stand very close to each other at the county ground on a Saturday, and we've been remarking on this burgeoning partnership with Charlie Austin. He's got all the attributes that kind of you wouldn't necessarily say are Charlie's. You know, he's got the pace, he's got the power. You know, he's very direct. Charlie's is all about movement and cunning, isn't it? So we're really going to miss him, aren't we?
Yeah, he's a top player. I think he's also a player that needs sort of a good run of games. You know, he's been out for quite a while, so it's not going to click, you know, in 3-4 games. And sort of every game he is playing, he's improving. You know, he's getting assists. He should have scored a couple goals here and there. And yeah, it won't be long before, you know, he'll be one of the main people on the score sheet. But yeah, he's a top player. And I think we will miss him in the 3 matches that he's out for now.
Yeah, straight red for violent conduct, so a 3-match ban. I mean, Joe, hello, mate. Fresh from buying your house. How are you, pal?
Yeah, not bad, pal. Not bad. Busy day.
Joe, I was just about to say, like, if this had been Rashawn going down, like holding his hamstring, and he misses the next 3 games, you know, you'd be really frustrated. So for me, it's even more frustrating that we've lost him through suspension. You know, like you're just gagging for this lad to get a run of games in, aren't you? To continue, like, you know, his physical comeback, continue to get mileage into his legs. I mean, the kid must be pulling his hair out. This must be so frustrating for him.
Yeah, it's one of those. He can't pulling his hair out too much because ultimately he's the one that's caused this. I think if we go based off, you know, on Saturday, I wasn't at the game. I didn't watch it. I was out sort of house viewing and stuff. I managed to sneak off into the kitchen of a house away from the missus for a couple of minutes to get on Bet365 and look at the score. And as soon as I like flicked on my phone, it pops up Swindon red card. Like 10 minutes in, it's like, oh, brilliant! Like, come on now. You know, he's taken away. We should be winning that sort of game. They're what 16th in the league or whatever. They're not all that. It's a game we should be winning.
They
Ultimately,
really, really needed that win as well. Really needed that win.
yeah, mate, I can't disagree. But I suppose, if you look at it two ways, Rush is a young player. I know people say he's older than most of our team, but I think there are sixth formers that are older than our team on average. Ultimately, he's caused it himself. It was stupid. He's raised his hands, not to his face, and he went down like a sack of potatoes. I mean, we all know that. Like he's made the most of it. He's conned the referee, and I think even the Newport manager was like, if that's a red card, then the games are gone, which is admirable, but kind of means nothing looking back.
Yeah.
I think one of the frustrating things about that was in those first 10 minutes, obviously before he gets sent off, he was scaring the shit out of them.
Mate, he'll do that.
The ball, he'll do
that to most teams in this division. Most fullbacks in League Two cannot deal with Rashawn Hepburn-Murphy's pace and his directness. The one thing he needs to learn is when to let go of the ball at a certain time. Because the thing it's frustrating with him, he's got all the talent in the world, but he'll just run into people, and he'll have a split second before where he can play the ball.
Mate, we saw it again on Saturday. We've seen it again. The thing is with him, it's decision making.
Yeah,
it's just decision making, plain and simple.
But that comes from
I think this is all sort of. Oh, sorry, Joe.
Mate. I'll say that comes from matches played. Like you need to be. He's 23 or 24, and he's not played more than maybe 50 professional games of football. So it's like the more you play, that will come in lieu. So, but as I say, going back to the red cards, maybe silver linings is he gets 3 matches off now where he can have a rest and he's not playing 90 minutes or 70 minutes. We know that he's prone to injuries, so maybe that will help. It's just he needs to learn from it.
I can't help but think with Rashawn Hepburn-Murphy though, some of this is, I mean, he's been asked to play a slightly different role for Swindon Town because he's not the main goal threat. The main goal threat is always going to be Charlie Austin. So now you've got Rashawn Hepburn-Murphy playing a support role. As opposed to, so we talk about his decision making. I mean, I think if we look at the Gillingham game as a prime case in point, where we talk about the 1-on-1, where we felt he could have squared it to Ronan Darcy for a tap in. If you're a centre forward, you're shooting all day long, like you really are. And I mean that particular chance is, I mean that conversation, the dissection of that's taken place already, but. I think, again, it's just one of those, for me, that's part of the frustration of this sending off, because you just know, like, he's got the football intelligence. You just know with every game he's getting better and better. He's getting fitter and fitter. The decision-making is going to improve. His awareness is going to improve. His partnerships and his link-up play around the team are going to improve. And the last thing he needed at the moment was another spell, 3 games on the touchline.
Do we know if it's 3 games? Is it 4 games because it's violent conduct?
I'm pretty.
No, it's 3 games of violent conduct.
3 games, automatic 3-game suspension for violent conduct. But
yeah, definitely 3.
Because they were saying about Casemiro, weren't they, on the weekend, that it was a debate whether he'd get 3 or 4 because it was violent conduct.
No, it's violent conduct is 3 games unless you make a stupid appeal, then they put an extra one on. But violent conduct is an automatic 3-game ban.
And Oglehall was one in the prison for him, wasn't he? Talks what I saw.
Yeah.
Well, the 3 games that he's going to be missing are obviously Doncaster Rovers on Saturday, Tuesday's away trip to Sutton United's Park, and the Saturday the 18th, the away game to Salford. So, effectively, you've got. I mean, this is one of the really frustrating things about it, because Gabs, you mentioned about Newport being obviously hugely important. You've only got to look at the league table. In effect, at the moment you've got Doncaster Rovers are in 11th position. They're only 2 points behind us. Thankfully, the games in hand no longer matter in relation to them. Just 1 place behind them in 12th, you've got Sutton United, again on 40 points. And then a little further up the table in 5th, you've got Salford. Now, we've got to be winning the game against Salford. Salford are on 48 points. We're on 42 points. We've got a game in hand. So, in effect, guys, you pretty much... You're not sort of stretching it, are you, by saying we've got 3 6-pointers coming up there in those 3 games where you really could do with Rashawn Hepburn-Murphy in your starting lineup, couldn't you?
It's that time of the season where you know, if you go on a bit of a run, people are going, "Oh, you're in contention." You want everyone fit, really. You need to cut out these red cards. I don't know what's going on this season. They just need to cut out the red cards. I think Niall said it perfectly actually on Saturday. He said Morris said in his presser he wanted them to be nasty, but I didn't think after 15 minutes they'd take it to that extreme.
We've had 8 players sent off this season. That's too many.
Yeah, it's just bonkers, isn't it? But I mean, there's clearly been a clampdown as well, though, wasn't there, from the officials? There's clearly been a clampdown, and the problem is that we've bemoaned the quality of League Two officials as well, and it's not just been this season. You know, it's like it's been going on for far too long. Like the general level of officialdom is really, really poor, and if you then add a clampdown into that as well, like it's unsurprising. But you know, as you say, we've got to be better. I mean, I always hark back to, and I said this last season when we were, you know, having some disciplinary issues, a masterclass at managing poor or referees, never mind poor referees, was the late great Brian Clough, and Cloughie would bend over backwards to make referees feel at home, whether they were right or wrong. You know, if they were in the wrong, he would always sort of, you know, certainly publicly come out on their side, because at the end of the day, you're dealing with human beings. And you're far more likely to get those marginal gains, for want of a better word, on a human level. I'm not talking about nobbling a referee, but you know, you would like to think, you know, if you're making a referee feel welcome, if you're supporting a referee, you know, you're far more likely to get a marginal gain than if you're in someone's ear, like constantly like berating them. Or that's one of my problems that I have with Harry McKirdy. It's like, do you honestly think you're going to get any change out of a referee by constantly berating them, constantly battering them? You know, it's just never going to happen.
I mean, we certainly don't make them feel at home, do we? We knock them out and put them in the ICU.
I was going to say, if you kick the ball in the face, that will certainly make them think about what decision they're making.
Yeah, so we're not only in their ear, but yeah, as you say, we're also sticking them in the back of an ambulance as well. It's not a good look. But I mean, yeah, listen, I mean, what do you do, guys? Like, I mean, you know, all being well, we'll be able to ask the question of the club management in the coming few weeks. But you know, what do you do? You know, like what are you saying to these guys? Because at the end of the day, they're scrapping for promotion. You know, they're absolutely gunning it. It must be so. I mean, the level of inconsistency with our referees is what kills me. And I'm in the stands. I mean, it must be excruciating for them on the pitch. Wouldn't you agree?
Well, we know how bad it is. We've spoken to players. Like, I won't say who it was or what game it was, but recently we had a text from a player. Naughty word, officials, man, was the message. So, I mean, the players are noticing it. It's frustrating to watch from our end. I suppose, I mean, the officials in the Premier League aren't amazing. We see there's controversy in every game, every weekend. VAR doesn't really touch sides. But Jody Morris has probably experienced fairly decent officials in Europe with Chelsea in the Champions League and stuff. So coming to League Two and experiencing the officials that we do, it must be a bloody big learning curve. I mean, I don't know if anyone saw. Did anyone see the Port Vale game last night in League One with the officials? I think it was it Accrington Stanley?
Yeah,
a Port Vale player headed it past the goalkeeper, and then the Accrington players basically punched the ball away off the line, and from that rebound, the Port Vale players tapped it in. Instead of giving the goal, the referee's given a penalty, a red card to the Accrington player,
yeah,
and then
he
the goalkeeper
blew like
penalty.
literally seconds to four, didn't he? Blew seconds to four. It's ridiculous, isn't it? Absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah,
it's VAR that's the problem, but because they brought VAR in, they need more referees to do that. So basically, all the referees have moved up to a level that they shouldn't be. So now League Two is refereed by non-league referees.
This is why I keep saying,
honestly,
and I say it time and time again, for that VAR, bring in ex-pros. Bring in ex-pros to do VARs. Let the referees get out on the grass and do what they want us to do.
Mate, just get Peter Crouch with a mic set up. I mean, yeah, that'd be unreal, wouldn't it?
I just don't understand. Like, in cricket, most players that have retired become umpires. In tennis, many of them have played tennis to a standard and decided to take up umpiring because they didn't really get high up the rankings. I don't understand why ex-pros can't sit in a room and make decisions. They clearly know the rules. They've clearly played the game, and they all have things to say. So why can't they go and do
Mate, it's
that?
because they spent their entire career. They spent their entire career just absolutely berating and abusing referees. They don't fancy it themselves.
The other thing you can say about that, though, is about referees who probably aren't fit enough to referee on the pitch. They still know the rules. Why don't they have those guys who probably a bit too old to be on the game? Why don't they go to VAR?
I mean, listen, where do we start? I mean, I truly, it's one of those where, you know, you kind of, on Saturday, I was, for a prime example, on Saturday, I was like, VAR happens. Yeah, if VAR is part of the mix, there's a chance maybe that sending off is dealt with in a slightly different way. And there are a couple of other decisions in the game as well where you're thinking the same thing. But I can't stand VAR, man. I mean, listen, from my perspective, when there was all the talk of VAR coming into our game, I was like, right, okay, just give me it for goal line decisions and serious foul play, like and simulation. I think there were the three criteria that I wanted VAR to kind of take control of. Like the one thing that I'm really, really dreading. I mean, you saw it at I think it was it the Forest game that was on the box, where there was a goal given and you saw the fans going absolutely bananas. And then, like, literally 30 seconds later, VAR rules the goal out. And it's just like, oh, man, that's the kind of stuff that gives you indigestion. You know, you're just like, really? Like, that for me is a real dread. And I'm saying that as a fan of a club that's in League Two with aspirations to move up the leagues where VAR is going to become inevitable. But I mean, look, if it was my decision, I would literally go back to that three criteria. So serious foul play, simulation, and literally the goal line technology. That's all I want. Everything else, all those little marginal decisions, that's all part of the wonder of football. Like it's a people's game. It's a people's game that should be run by people. I don't understand why VAR has to have such an overarching remit. Like it's really makes football so beautiful.
I think the issue is you see in sports like rugby, cricket, tennis, you know, every sport, the technology aids the ref, but it's almost the people using the technology don't have a clue either.
Yeah, that's the thing, isn't it? Because it's not the tech. Like you say, Gabs, it's not the tech, is it? It's the interpretation of it. And listen, at the end of the day, I don't know. I think to answer your question about ex-pros, I think one of the problems that you've got, just given the nature of football, I think there will always be questions asked around a footballer's allegiances. But then that's pretty straightforward, isn't it? You know, there should be enough footballers that come into the game that can essentially be deployed at a game where you wouldn't even. I mean, for a start, you would like to think that they're professional people. If they're wearing the black kit, they're the man in the middle with a whistle. That you just have to trust them anyway. But if there was any concerns, well, you just don't give them a game with, that involves any of their former clubs. It's really quite straightforward. But hey, let's not disappear down the VAR rabbit hole. I mean, look, I'm more than happy. I think we've said more than said our piece on Newport. I think that's one of those where we just put it to bed and just hope, as I tweeted on Saturday, I've got an awful feeling it ends up being an albatross around our neck, but not until the end of the season. Would you agree with that? Or, I mean, there's still a lot of football to play, isn't there, guys? At the end of the day, we shouldn't be throwing out the baby with the proverbial bathwater.
Let's be honest. Every season it happens at Newport, doesn't it? I think last season might have just been the anomaly.
Yeah, I think maybe you're right. Well, look, where to next, guys? We've got the small matter of the county ground contract being exchanged. So, truly monumental announcement from the council, from Trust STFC, and from the football club, that contracts have been exchanged, and that we are literally a hair's breadth away from owning our own ground. I mean, listen, we've all wonderful members of my panel. We've all been Swindon Town fans for various degree of time. You've got the crusties like myself and Chris. You've got the middle of the road lads like Joe won't thank me for saying that. Like Joe and Gabz, and then you got the baby of the group that's Ellis. But it pretty much means the same to all of us, doesn't it? Like the notion of owning our own stadium. I mean, I still can't believe like we're practically there, guys. Like, but I mean, Gabz, listen, as a I'm not a born and bred Swindonian, but the ground means the world to me. As someone that's sort of grown up on the manor, and sees that estate, 7 days a week. Can you quite get your head around the fact, Gabz? Listen, as a I'm not a born and bred Swindonian, but the ground means the world to me. As someone that's sort of grown up on the manor, and sees that estate, 7 days a week. Can you quite get your head around the fact that we're literally about to own that?
Oh, it's more relief than anything. It's more relief. Yes, it's long overdue, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, truly brilliant. I mean, Chris, you're like me. You've got a bit of a journey, mate. More a far bigger journey than me. But what? I mean, what would you layer into this debate, mate? I mean, I guess the thing that I always kind of like default back to is, I remember back in the day when we would at the end of a season or when the summer rolled round, we'd be picking Reading's best players off them, and it was almost like for a paltry sum, we'd have a little bit of a laugh at them lot down the road at Elm Park. And oh, how times have changed. Now, I appreciate they've had a bit of a money bags sort of option down the road there, but I mean, the fact is, you look at what they've got there with the Medeski, and then you look at how we've kind of been sort of stuck in status all this time. I mean, it's chalk and cheese now, isn't it? It just shows you what a bit of momentum and a bit of progress can deliver for a club.
It can do as well as I mean, like say for instance, like obviously Reading went down the road and got a new stadium. I don't want a new stadium. I want that stadium, develop it and whatnot. But that's our home. I think if we ended up going somewhere like say a couple of miles away and whatnot and built a new 30,000 stadium, so to speak, it wouldn't be home.
No, absolutely.
What we've got is home, and I'll develop it. Well, not obviously it's been neglected for a hell of a long time, and but we've got the plans to address that, and I like that. Also, I like the idea that some people have suggested about like renaming it somewhere to Nigel Eady, and I think we should do that, but I'm not quite sure how.
Well, look, we'll go back to what the Trust have said. So the Trust press release read as follows. So Swindon Town Football Club has edged a step closer to the purchase of the county ground as part of a joint venture that will see the stadium jointly owned with supporters. Working closely with Swindon Town Community Mutual Limited, i.e. Trust STFC, contracts have now been signed and exchanged between their joint venture company, the County Ground Stadium Custodians Limited, and Swindon Borough Council. Alongside the exchange, a deposit of £230,000 has been paid, meaning that a legally binding deal is now in place and the stadium purchase can move forward, with completion scheduled by the end of March 2023 at the latest. Funding for the 2.3 million acquisition is coming from the Nigel Eady Trust. Nigel was a lifelong Swindon Town fan who sadly passed away back in January 2012, leaving a considerable legacy to the football club, on the proviso that the money be used for the long-term benefit of the club and the local community. The deal will see the football club and supporters take full ownership of the county ground site from the Borough Council as part of an equal 50-50 split, which will not only reduce the rental cost by a half, but allow for significant developments across the stadium using the money saved. Plans include upgrading 2 stands and building a hotel and conference facility on the town end over the next 5 years. Well, Clem Morfuni said, this is massive for the football club and a significant step forward, as it means the joint venture is now fully committed to completing the purchase over the coming months. And we'd like to place on record our sincerest gratitude to Nigel Eady trustees who have been so supportive throughout this long process. Steve Myton, of course, Trust STFC chairman, added, on behalf of all supporters, we'd like to thank Nigel Eady and all of his trustees for funding this historic purchase. Upon completion, we can ensure the county ground is developed in the best possible way, for the benefit of the club and the local community. And Rob Carter, a new name for many, Rob Carter from the Nigel Eady Trust commented, "We're delighted that contracts have now been exchanged and look forward to the completion as soon as possible. The purchase of the county ground is a fitting legacy for Nigel, and he would be very proud to see this happening, as it opens the door for much needed improvements across the stadium, which in turn will contribute to the future success of our great club." And finally, Councillor David Renard, leader of Swindon Borough Council, said, "I'm extremely pleased to see the county ground will soon be in the hands of the football club and its fans. This is a deal I've wanted to get done for some long old time, and getting it over the line is all thanks to the fantastic work that's taken place behind the scenes from colleagues at the council, football club and the supporters trust. This is a huge moment for the club and the fans, and I'm sure it will prove to be a pivotal point in its history. I know the football club and the trust have big plans for the ground, and I'm very excited to see what comes next, both on and off the pitch. The county ground, which has been home to Swindon Town since 1896, is a key part of the area's sporting community heritage, and the completion of the purchase will mark a new chapter in its history. The move also signifies the first time the club and supporters have owned the stadium, with unique ownership model ensuring its future legacy for generations to come." I mean, look, guys, there's so much there to get our teeth into. I think first and foremost, you sort of touched on it there, Chris, about the contribution of Nigel Eady. I mean, I can only imagine if you had said, I mean, I never got to meet Nigel and his giant scarf, but I've heard so many wonderful things about him, particularly in conversation with Vic Morgan. And I think it's probably fair to say, if you had said to Nigel Eady when he had written his will that the 2.3 million quid would go to securing the county ground purchase, I get the impression that he would have kind of said, nah, that's not going to be possible. There's no way the council would sell it, or words to that effect. And I think we all kind of maybe envisaged that sort of investment would end up being sort of like slipped down the line to a training ground or invested in the youth, the youth setup. But we've actually gone and bought the bloody ground with it. I mean, you can imagine, like, Nigel will be smiling down on that decision. I don't know who wants to run with that with an opinion.
Oh, it's well, for someone who's like following a team for 30, 40 years, well, maybe not quite that long, but it's just amazing that the ground's ours. And I think as fans and whatnot, you just like to see that the ground is yours, and that we've actually got the control of what we're doing with it within the remit of the club, rather than a council or whatnot. And I think,
yeah, I completely agree with you, Chris. I mean, look, Ellis, I'm sure you're much like me. I've lost count the number of times I've driven down the M4 from my digs in London, and the conversation often drifts into with my kids, like, if we won the lottery, what would be our first investment at the football club? And we've often said, like, it always ends up being something to do with the ground, because that's kind of like a legacy play, isn't it? It's like,
Yeah,
always going to be there. I always sort of say, well, one of the first things I'd do is, like, somewhere in the town end, I'd have a seat melded out of gold or something.
but yeah, something like that. Like, every home game, every Swindon supporter goes to the county ground. Everyone's got their own daily routine. So if you can sort of be moulded or sort of involved with that, it's sort of a special privilege, really.
It's the one thing we've all got in common, Ellis, isn't it? No matter which way you sort of cut it, we've all got an opinion on the team. We've all got an opinion on, we come away from the game. We've all got varying degrees of, even if we win, if we lose, we've all got varying opinions, this, that, and the other. The one thing that we have in common, like, you get to the county ground, to all of us, that's kind of like a home from home, isn't it?
100%, yeah.
It's the bricks and mortar. It's literally the stage for it all, isn't it? And to think that, that is now going to be ours, and it's going to get facelifted. Like, I mean, it's going to be fascinating, because there's obviously we've had the trust on. They've got to commence work. I think it was within the next 18 months. They've got 3 years, isn't it? They've got to commence work on a significant investment that's well up in the millions of pounds that You know, so it's not like they can rest on their laurels. You know, this isn't like, you know, like some of the concerns have been that, you know, does this end up in the hands of an unscrupulous owner? That, you know, is this going to end up being, you know, is a developer going to steamroller this? You know, Chris mentioned earlier, didn't he, about, oh, you know, you always hear the fear in his voice. Oh, we could end up in a stadium like a couple of miles down the road, and, you know, we end up in a faceless bowl of a stadium, and we lose all that history and all that stuff. This is not that. Like, this is not that. So I mean, it's, I don't know, until, you know, it's going to feel. I know it's going. Obviously, I know it's going to happen, but I just can't wait to see that first shovel like hit the ground. Like, you know, I just can't wait to start seeing the changes being made, because, I mean, you know, myself and my son and Martin, we did a piece for the Sutton Broadbent Lounge just before the season kicks off, and it led to us that the ground had just had a bit of a polish up. But we were just walking around the perimeter of the pitch, and we were talking about reflections on last season. And you realise, like, when you really take a long, hard look, you realise just how tired the ground is getting. You know, like, it is in desperate need. And I think there's something that catches everyone's eyes, whether it's the PA system, which isn't great, or this, that, and the other. But there was something about that walk around the perimeter of the pitch where, you know, I wasn't distracted by what was happening on the pitch. So I spent more time actually looking at what literally the state of the stands and the state of the stadium. And it really, really hit me that, by Christ, yeah, this place needs a lot of love. And it's going to get it, right? So super exciting. But, well, look, congratulations to everybody, ourselves included. Like, you know, it's, you know, if the trust aren't empowered to the degree that they are, then the trust don't have a mandate to be able to speak to the club and get things moving on that point of view. If the club themselves haven't dealt with the debts and cleared the debentures, and if Clem hadn't cleared the amount of debt and demonstrated to the Nigel Eady Trust that he's an honourable owner, then there's no way the Nigel Eady trustees are going to be releasing funds. So there are so many different stakeholders to have got us to this point. You know, everyone that's ended up signing up to the trust, obviously the trust board members themselves that have made the approaches, the countless number of meetings, all the media calls, the work that Clem's done, writing bloody big checks and stabilising the football club. I mean, look, it's hats off to everybody. Let's just really enjoy watching our wonderful ground get the facelift. It is so needed. Well, look, we'll move on from the county ground purchase because clearly end of March is now the next stage post for that. So we look forward to that with bated breath. We've got we won't spend too much time talking about it because we want to keep our powder dry for the show on Saturday. But Doncaster Rovers visiting the county ground on Saturday. Chris, that's your neck of the woods, mate, isn't it? Have you got any thoughts for us in relation to Donny? Obviously, I mentioned before, 11th in the league. They've played 28, won 12, drew 4, lost 12. They've scored 33 goals. They've conceded 40, hence the minus goal difference of 7. They got
it was going to be that, but Ellis has actually looked into that.
Hey, good stuff, Ellis. So listen, mate, their form's not great, is it? You know,
games. I've got it here. They've won, loss, won. So win, 3 losses, then a win. That's their past 5 games. They're sitting at 11th with 40 points. Compare it to sort of our stats. We're 8th with 42 points with a past 5 game record of a win, loss, win, draw, loss. So sort of looking at that, they're coming off a win, we're coming off a loss. You know, does that play into our favour? I personally think it does. I think we're going to be hungry for 3 points. And yeah, we're at that point of the season now where, you know, every point matters, and especially when you got, I mean, look, Doncaster are 11th, and they're only 2 points behind us. So it's tight. It is really tight.
It's an interesting one, Ellis, isn't it? Because you and I have had this conversation on a match day where we're like, it's not like we're getting above our station, but really be fearing anybody in this league, should we? Like, we should
No.
really. This is not a vintage League Two, so it's not like anybody that comes to the county ground. We shouldn't be sitting there kind of quaking in our boots. But I mean, on the proviso that we had quite a few injuries at the weekend, didn't we?
Yeah.
We were missing Tyree Shade. We were missing Marcel Lavinier, who's been in sparkling form of late. Obviously, we're going to be missing Rashawn at the weekend. But there was Tom Clayton returned at the weekend, which was great to see him back in action. We hope to see Reece Devine back in action sometime very soon. So, with a fair wind turning players, we shouldn't really be concerned about Doncaster Rovers coming to the county ground, should we?
No, I don't think so. Well, saying that, we should have beat Newport, really. Everyone had the same sort of feeling before the game. But yeah, look, Clayton coming back. I think when he got brought on in the against Newport, it changed the whole game. It sort of allowed Blake Tracy to push on a little bit and have a bit more freedom. So hopefully we're going to see Clayton start if he's fit enough. Because personally, I think we've really been missing him while he's been out. Will Lavinia be back?
Well,
we don't really know what his injury is, but obviously, moving on from what Ellis said there, Clayton did make a big difference, and it makes you think as well as would Morris be thinking of going three at the back? Because when Clayton came on, that's what we played, and he was sat in the middle, and that enabled Blake Tracy to move on, but when we played three at the back with Lindsay, we didn't have that dynamic. So it's very interesting to see what Morris might do.
I think he'll be quite flexible, judging from what I've seen of him in the past with the Chelsea youth team. I've got a feeling he might be 3 at the back when we're in possession, 5 at the back off the ball.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I think the team's young enough, fit enough, and flexible enough to do that.
Yeah.
Well, they've got threats up top, so we're going to need to be on our mettle this weekend. We've got their big threats are going to be George Miller, who has got 9 goals and 4 assists this season, and they've also got Kyle Hurst as well, who's another name to look out for. Kyle Hurst has hit 6 goals so far this season. I mean, they're not prolific from a point of view of 9 goals again, 9 in 27 doesn't have you necessarily quaking in your boots, and 6 in 29 equally is not necessarily the kind of form that you're going to expect to see a team get fired to the top of the league. But nonetheless, they know that's their main goal threat. I think. They're an interesting club, Doncaster, aren't they? They've got a good setup. They've got a good stadium. They always seem to attract decent players. It just for whatever reason, it's just not happening for them this season. But let's take a prediction from you, Gabs. What are you thinking, mate, ahead of the weekend?
You're all going to pass out here. I'm actually going to predict Swindon to win for once on here.
Get out of here.
Which means we're probably going to lose. Austin 1-0.
Now, that would be the most Swindony of things. Gabs predicts a win. Yeah, we're bound to lose. Yeah, it's got to be. Go on, mate. Sorry, did you give us a scoreline, Gabs?
Austin 1-0.
Austin 1-0. How about you, Joe? What are you thinking for the weekend?
I think we'll win. I don't think I'm that confident in a clean sheet. Genuinely, Tom Clayton's one of my favourite players at the club. I love him to bits. I think Kieran Brennan's done well in recent weeks, but I still don't love them as a partnership. I will say 2-1 Town. I want Wakeland to score, so I go Wakeland and I go Charlie.
Wakeland and Charlie, okay. We'll take that. How about you, Ellis?
I'm feeling fairly positive. Jody Morris has been given. Well, he's had a bit more time now to sort of implement his style of play, his tactics. which I think we'll see more of on Saturday. Will it click into place? Probably not. But I think we're going to see a more polished side than what we did at Newport. So I'm going to say, again, I agree with Joe. I don't know if we can keep a clean sheet, but I'm going 3-1.
Wow. Well, we'll take that. So far we've got a clean sweep of wins. I've got Joe. I'm going to keep my powder dry. What did you say, Joe, for your prediction?
2-1. I reckon Waketon and Austin score. Like I said, I just don't. Clayton and Brennan don't do it for me at the back currently.
All right, so you've gone 2-1. Gabs has gone 1-0. Chris, what are you saying?
I don't even know what sort of formation we might go with Hepburn Murphy out, because obviously it changes our dynamic, and so it's a tough one to call. I'm going to say that we win that 3-1, and Austin will score 2.
3-1 and Austin 2. All right. And Ellis, what were you saying?
I didn't say anything then, but do you want to know who I think will score?
Yes, please.
Well, I've just been thinking, right? I think Kane is going to get 2. I don't know why. I just got a feeling.
Wow.
And Clayton's going to score from a corner. We're going to get a Liverpool 3-goal game.
Oh, all right. So 3 goals. Some of you boys are going heavy with the score.
Oh, I love the left field. 2 free kicks from Kane.
If Tom Clayton scores, I'm going to be on the piss in Padstow, I'll tell you, on the weekend.
Right, I'm going to go. It's going to be an absolute romp on Saturday. It's going to be 4-0 Town. Seaside Reds would be happy. It's going to be 4-0 Town. Charlie will do what Charlie does best. I too can see Jake Kane, getting on the score sheet. And I think you're going to see Johnny Williams he's not going to get a brace. Johnny and Saidu are going to get the others. So a 4-0 on Saturday, I think, is what we're going to have. But look, we'll park.
Hey, Hannah's Saidu won't be scoring because he's not allowed to play.
Oh, of course. What I'm saying, right? No, it will be a Johnny double. All right. Well, look, we'll park Donny. Tune in.
I think Saidu can play a weekend. Sorry, Hannah's.
I don't think he's back.
2 games suspension because it was the second red card.
Oh, really?
Is it not past the threshold though? I think isn't there like a reset?
No, if you get two red cards, it tots up. So it's 2 games.
Wank.
Yeah, sorry about that. So Johnny. All right, Johnny double just as a default. Johnny double. Kane and Charlie will do the damage. Right, so we'll park that. We'll keep a powder dry. We're going to have another deep dive into Doncaster Rovers on Saturday, where we'll be broadcasting from 12 there or thereabouts midday, subject to whether the M25, M3, M4 is going to behave itself. We will be broadcasting live from the Legends Lounge, however, at lunchtime, ahead of you switching your attentions to the silky chops himself, the delightful Andrew Hawes, and our good friends over at BBC Radio Wiltshire, whose coverage will begin at 2:00 as per. So we've got another update for you guys on the 23rd of February. For those of you that aren't aware, we are going to be comparing an evening on behalf of Paul Caddis. So Cads is returning to the county ground for a fundraiser, and we've been invited to come along and host the evening, which we're delighted to do. It's going to be brilliant seeing our league-winning skipper return to the county ground. The trophies are going to be out. We are hoping there's going to be a couple of special guests. And they'll be joining both in person and indeed via the delights of the technology available to ourselves. The bars are going to be open, the beers will be flowing, the pizza will be there, and it will be delicious. So you can get yourselves a ticket by jumping onto the St Tom Broadbent Lounge. Just scroll down our feed, and you will see a QR code. If you scan that on your mobile phone, the QR code will enable you to make a purchase of a ticket. They're 20 quid each, and we do have tables available as well. Drop us a DM if you're interested in taking us up on a table. They are going and they are starting to go at a rate of knots. So drop us a line quickly if you're interested in coming as a collective and making a saving by taking a ticket. Because you certainly can do that. So yeah, drop us a line. It's going to be a really memorable evening. Paul, we're going to be walking through Paul's career. He's going to be telling us some truly sensational anecdotes from his time as progressing up through the ranks of Glasgow Celtic, then joining Swindon Town, obviously under the leadership of the inimitable Paolo Di Canio, leaving Swindon Town, going around the houses before returning to Swindon Town to lift the same trophy again. Well, different trophy, same model, under the leadership of Richie Wellens. So 2 incredibly memorable seasons, followed up by a less than memorable season in some ways, but memorable in others, which included an incredible victory away from home against Oxford. There are so many stories. Paul could probably fill 3 nights on the bounce and still continue to be telling his stories. So get yourselves along, guys. Thursday, the 23rd of February. There may be, and I quote, maybe some tickets available on the night. But as things stand, we're pretty optimistic that there won't be. So get your tickets ordered and get along. All proceeds to type 1 diabetes research, and we'll go straight into Paul's fundraiser. Paul's going to be doing the 3 Peaks Challenge at the end of February. So all the money will be going straight into the 3 Peaks Challenge. So it's not the only fundraiser that we've been involved in, because we've also been involved in returning Stephen Darby his shirt and making an absolute ton of cash as well in the process for Derby Rimmer. So latest update, we adjusted our target up to £2,000 because at last knockings we were on £1,565 and counting. But last night, I don't know, any of you guys on my wonderful panel see a little bubble of activity on Twitter last night?
I saw some beardy threats or beardy sort of encouragements.
Yeah, so Joe the Cairo, head of medical, is a head of medical at Swindon Town Football Club. Joe the Cairo, at Joe the Cairo, if you want to follow Joe on Twitter, was challenged to grow, quote, a beard on his cherubic face. And if he does that in under 6 weeks, then the St Tom Broadbent Lounge will be making another £200 donation, which will take our running total up to just under 1,800 quid. And then our dear friends at Verologic pitched in and said, well, in effect, if Joe is willing to do that, they will also match that fee, which will take us over our £2,000 target. So no pressure, Joe the Cairo, but he's got to do the right thing there, boys, hasn't he?
Yeah, it's got to be done.
But it's got to be a Jesus beard, apparently. Now, how would you define a Jesus beard? Because it's a controversial statement to make.
Mate, I'm just thinking, a Jesus beard, I'm not even sure how long that'll take me to grow, personally. I know we all have different beard habits and the way that it grows, but I've not shaved in about 2 weeks, and it's getting a little bit curly now. Obviously, I've got quite curly hair, so naturally my beard is a bit puby. So
puby beard.
Puby beard,
Well,
yeah.
Well, I haven't shaved since birth, so at least you can grow one.
Yeah. Look,
6 weeks. If he doesn't shave for 6 weeks, we'll make the donation.
Yeah. Joe, you're just Oscar Massey.
I'm not Oscar Massey. I'll have you know.
It's a perm anyway, isn't it, Joe?
Maybe.
Joe, I'm pretty sure you are Oscar Massey. You are literally, that is an absolute genius spot. You are absolutely Oscar Massey. In fact, I'll tell you what we'll do on Saturday. We'll find Oscar. Hopefully he'll be at the ground. We'll find Oscar. we'll have a picture of you and Oscar side by side, and I think we'll let the fans make their decision. But you are his doppelganger.
Oscar's young enough to be my grandson.
The Swindon Wayne Rooney himself. No, you are definitely Oscar Massey, 100%. Right. Well, we've got. I think that's us done for the night, guys. So just to recap, then we're doing it in reverse order. We've got the challenge out to Joe the Cairo. I know he's reluctant. He's a new father, Joe, so understandably, he doesn't necessarily want to be scaring his newborn baby by kissing it with a prickly beard, which is fair comment. But I like to think 400 quid towards MND research and helps us across our target might just sway Joe to have a little look at that. And certainly Mrs. Joe the Cairo, if you're listening, dear lady, please endorse that. Come on, six weeks of prickly discomfort. For the satisfaction of knowing that you helped to smash a target for a wonderful cause. So we've got that. Then we've got February 23rd. We just about the Paul Caddis evening with. Get your tickets. Jump on our feed, find the flyer, scan the QR code, or send us a DM and we'll arrange for you to get your ticket one way or the other. Doncaster Rovers at the County Ground on Saturday. Sir Tom Broadbent Lounge will be broadcasting from the Legends Lounge from around 12 o'clock. All being well, we'll be bang on 12 o'clock, but maybe a little after, subject to how the motorways behave themselves. We talked, of course, about the County Ground contracts being exchanged, and congratulations to the Trust, the joint venture, the football club, Clem Morfuni, and thank you very much to the Nigel Eady Trust for an incredible donation from Nigel Eady's estate. We had a little bit of about Newport, sadly. It was wonderful to hear from Annie and Lanes and Alice, Captain Alice Bowden, in relation to Swindon Town Football Club. Women's team won, Bournemouth won, and a little bit of a preview from their game at Moneyfields at the weekend. And of course, at the top of the show, it was truly fantastic to welcome Joe Tomlinson back to the County Ground with a Daft Questions Q&A, and a lot of fun he was too. Well, listen, Gabs, thanks ever so much for giving us your time, pal. It's been great hearing from you again.
Pleasure as always. Thanks for having me.
Cheers, buddy. We'll be seeing you at the weekend. And Joe, looking forward to seeing you at the weekend. Congrats on your house exchange, and better late than never on the show tonight, mate. Thanks for joining us.
Cheers, buddy. I won't be at the weekend, but I'll be listening from hopefully sunny Padstow. So, yeah.
Disgusting plastic fan behaviour, but we'll leave that to...
Traitor.
Sorry, boys. Sorry.
Absolute plastic. Chris, what an absolute treat having you, mate. Thanks so much for joining.
Hey, it was absolute pleasure. It's always good to join and take stuff away from other things.
Yeah, indeed, mate. And we're sending you all our very, very best family. And Ellis, thanks ever so much, pal, for joining us. Always great to have you, chap.
Yeah, no worries at all. Don't worry, Hannes. I won't leave you on your own Saturday.
I'll be
You're such a kiss ass.
Yeah. Side bread's buttered. Well, listen, to everyone else, dear listeners, thank you very much for joining us. Whether you listen to us live, it's always lovely to have you with us live. Thank you to everyone that contributed questions to Joe. And of course, it leaves me just to say that Sir Tom Broadbent Lounge is an independent Swindon Town fans Twitter space. As such, the views do not reflect those of Swindon Town Football Club or Sir Tom Broadbent himself. It's been an absolute treat having you with us. Come on, you Reds. We'll see you all on Saturday.